Fellas, what's going on? What's going on, man? Another episode of Manhood Moments. How my brothers doing out there?
Doing fantastic. Doing good. How
Man,
about you?
Man, I can't complain, man. It seems like, man, we seem like we ain't chopped it up forever. So getting back into this conversation, I was excited about today. So, man, I want to welcome those who are joining us, whether you're joining us live or you're joining us, after the broadcast or what have you, after the podcast. We're excited about you being here and just taking out the opportunity to be with us in Manhood Moments. I'm Dr. Sir, and my partners in crime, my brothers, they're going to introduce themselves just in case this is your first time. But you could catch Manhood Moments every first and third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. And this opportunity, what we do on Manhood Moments is we just try to chop it up and just talk from a male perspective about things that may be going on in the community, things that's happening in our lives. We call this edutainment, and this is a way for us to educate as well as entertain and have some laughter and bring a little bit of levity to our lives, because we know as black men our lives are really challenging. So with that being said, I'm going to say, T Bird, what's going on, man? Talk to us,
I'm
introduce yourself.
I'm doing good. I'm happy that the weather finally stopped raining. I was able to go outside and shoot some ball with my son. Good times. He set the rim to 8 foot, threw me a oop. I dunked it, and the ball came back and smacked me in the face. Man, I was like, oh, it was hurt. I was hurt, man. I just gotta thank God still to be 47, man. I can go out there and play with my son and dunk. He's throwing me oops and things like that, and I'm dunking. My head is at the rim height, so I'm worried about hitting my face. Then my son's like, "Hey, Dad, posterize me." Man, I'm old now. I'm like, man, I don't want to step on your foot, twist my ankle, then I'm gonna be out for a while. So I'm like, nah, we'll
Right.
we'll play. We went to 20. He beat me 20-18. He getting his little game on. Other than that, man, just work's been busy. It's like it's been hard to catch up with you brothers, but I just been like reading a little bit, kind of taking it easy, and really not much to do because it's been, like I said, it's been raining like the past 3-4 days. So
That, that's it. That's it.
yeah,
Real quick, I do want to jump in, James. Little James, we are going to talk about my brother tonight, your dad. So I'm glad that you joined us tonight, man. And you are right. If my brother, your dad, was here, he would be right here talking with us, hanging out, chatting with us, man. So that's on my heart tonight, is to talk about our relationship and just the impact that my brother, your dad, made in my life. And so thank you for joining us today. Fellas, I was telling you about my brother who passed away. Today's his birthday. That's his son, James. We call him Little James, even though he's taller than all of us put together. So, but really, really great young man he has his children. He's down in Texas, and he's just doing life, man. And he's really just really making his dad proud. So, thank
thanks
you.
for tuning in, little James.
For sure. For sure.
You know, T. Patrick, talk to us, man. How things going with you?
You know what? I wish I had some cool initials. You know how he just
Sir.
Saint just introduce himself as Doctor Sir. I mean, I do all right with T. Patrick though. I'm gonna say that, but you know what? That's definitely flows off the tongue a little bit, Doctor Sir. You know what I mean? Make me want to go back and no, I'm just kidding. I ain't going back to get nothing. I ain't gonna be doctor anything. But
You
nah,
be
man.
doctor in your own right, you know. You Dr.
Hey,
HR.
hey. I tell
Yup.
you what, I w- just been busy, man. Made some changes at work and different things like that. So I spent the last week in meetings where I don't have any idea what we talking about, but that just lets me know that I'm gonna be great because that's generally how it always starts, right? I'm in meetings, I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? But
You
no,
still been
it's just
traveling?
been no, actually, I haven't been traveling. I changed roles, so I'm gonna be leading employee relations for a couple of businesses that we have. So
Okay.
um, I won't. I'll be setting a different travel schedule, different cadence, and stuff like that. I don't
Nice.
necessarily. know what that looks like, but you know what I
Mhm.
mean. Might land me in San Francisco, so I might be able to catch a Golden
Golden State
State game
game.
or something like that if I happen to get there before the playoffs end. So we'll
That's
see.
it.
You know,
But
you get a
Man,
big dog, so you can probably get some like courtside seats and all that.
probably
You know,
so.
I
You
miss the
just sit up with the
HR.
owners.
I don't. I don't know who told you that foolishness. Hey, listen, I receive it. I'll say that. I do receive it. However, I'm not there yet. So, I will not be a courtside. I'll definitely be, in some I might not be quite nosebleed, but like a little bit just
Hey, you
better
in
than
the
that.
building?
That's it.
Right.
And at a playoff game. That's the thing. So,
Yes, sir.
man, I'm telling you, man, but it's good, brothers. I'm telling you, man, I'm excited about just having the opportunity, to just sit and chat with my brothers, So, and as I told you today, it's been somewhat of a challenging day. And so, and I've already alluded to that, and 11 years, I made a post earlier, people say that time heals all wounds, but I don't necessarily agree with that for two reasons. Number one, I don't agree with it because I think time is just going to happen. I think healing is intentional, right? But then I also think that there are some wounds that, you still have some, a little bit of, a little residue from the time that it was inflicted, and so we learn to adapt, we learn to adjust, we learn to, in this case, in the case of bereavement, and losing somebody who you really, really, really love, and so that's a lot different, and so, and I think about, I think about my brother James Earl Henderson, that's his name, and just the events and that surrounds this month and, his death, his life. And when I talk about, man, somebody that our lives is like parallel, man, for real. It's like I don't know when we became the best of friends. We were real young at church, and that's how we kind of hooked up, And Roy, got to give a shout out to Roy out there. There's a couple other brothers who was in our little group, James McFerrin and Aaron Phillips, who rest his soul. He passed away, Fred Malloy, just some good brothers, man. We was all Marvis Harvey, and so it's just a lot of us, but some about James and our relationship, and he was genuine with a lot of people. I'm sure people listen to this. He had that kind of relationship. He had that kind of effect on people, man. And just being able to really be able to let you be yourself, and so and just so through this period, and you kind of see I'm gathering thoughts here through this period. It's a time of celebration because I appreciate the relationship we had and the impact he made and things like that. But then it's that period of just kind of just trying to just get through, just get through this period, So so man, so that's why for me it's kind of challenging. And so I remember, I'm not going to rehearse it because I know Lil James, but remember that day and all that other stuff. And we was planning to do a 40th birthday bowling because we both love bowling and do a picnic and everything, So we still went through with the bowling, his kids and just a bunch of people. We still bowled that for his birthday and stuff, But that's one of those ones that can't be replaced. You know what I mean? So man. So I don't know if you fellas have gone through that, have gone through this situation. I think Tony, you lost a really good friend too, right?
Yeah, and what's really ironic is I was looking for something important in like one of my drawers. It's down in the
Hmm.
basement, like old tax returns and all that is in there. And what I was looking for, I ran across Stanford Anthony Merritt's obituary.
Hmm.
He passed away in April. Um, so it brought back all the memories, and unfortunately, and it's something I kicked myself in the butt about, and I'll kind of rehash. We were college roommates for freshman sophomore year.
Hmm.
To be together 24/7 for the most part for 2 years, no arguments, nothing like that. We just hit it off. He loved music. He called it the Dusty. Listen to old music, and kept in touch throughout the years. And just this particular weekend, man, he called me on a Sunday, and I was taking a nap. I'm like, "Oh, Stan calling." I hit him back. Man, I get a phone call from his cousin saying that he passed away in Mexico. So I kicked
Mm,
my butt for not taking the phone call because I'm
yeah.
taking a nap, and this is 2007. So I'm young. I don't need a nap. You know what I mean? But whatever. So it was I kicked myself in the butt about it. He ended up having like high blood pressure and stuff. And I remember like in
Mhm.
college he complained about headaches and everything. And that's how he passed away, the silent killer.
Yeah.
But that was tough. That was the closest person to me that passed away. Everybody else has been a natural order. Grandfather passed away, grandmother passed
Mhm.
away, but this was my guy. Like I mean, my boy, we hit it off from day one. So
Mhm.
and that hit. And I've told you guys before, he loved Superwoman. He loved Stevie Wonder, but Superwoman. So whenever I hear that
Mhm.
song, I think about him. And every now and then, man, I get teary eyed because I mean, I
Yeah.
miss him. He loved to play basketball. He used to play basketball in the dorms, like dang dog, like on the
Mhm.
carpet. But that was just staying real laid back dude. And honestly, his death, processing it years from now, helped me stop the no more hiding. Because
Mhm.
when he passed away, everybody said nice things about Stan,
Yeah.
and I didn't allow myself to cry in public. And now, I mean, I'll cry and things like that. But it started the whole process of why couldn't I allow myself to cry? So
Yeah.
that's when I started examining manhood and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's still tough. Funny is that Stan reminds me of Sean Kemp,
Mhm.
before he gained weight, like because this was in the '90s when we were college
Yeah.
roommates, and it was Chicago Bulls. He's from Chicago, but he would dunk and almost his mannerisms remind me of Sean Kemp. So
Okay.
just it was just my guy, man, and that was tough. Like I said, I still think about him from time to time. I'm sure you think about your brother every day.
Yeah.
Time has passed, but there's something that will remind me of Stan. So
Yeah, man. I was just thinking, and T. Patrick bring you on in there, but I was thinking, and James had complications with diabetes. That was initially, and then some other things started happening as a consequence of the diabetes. But I remember when we didn't know what it was. We was traveling, me and my kid's mom, and who was my first wife, and then he and Kim and Lil James, and we had little bitty people, but we were traveling down to Caruthersville, and James always played basketball. He went to Parkway North, and he was like the six man award. And even as a freshman, he was a big dude, like 6'1", 6'2", and just really fit. And so we was traveling, and he was having real bad, sweats and really weak and stuff like that. But he was still just pressing through. We didn't know what it was, but we was playing ball, and I remember this so vividly. And it was some bigger guys down there, and they couldn't hold him, and they was like, this dude's strong, but even when he was really weak, and we didn't know at that time that his diabetes had come back on him because he had juvenile diabetes. We found this out later on as we
gotcha.
were talking, but it had come back on him because of inactivity and stuff like that. When our lifestyle changes, when we get married, sometime our lifestyle changes where we can't be as active, and then that causes other things to come on, our eating habits and all these other things change. And so that was a part of his medical challenges that he dealt with. But like your guy, man, just loved playing ball and was just always active with. And he was a cat. He could dunk on you, but he wouldn't because he was polite. But if you got to
Yeah,
talking noise, you was in trouble. He's like he was gonna light you up and be quiet about it. He wouldn't talk. He wouldn't do a lot of talking. No, because and he grew up down right there in the city, and so right off of Prairie, East Prairie, and so but he was just that kind of guy, man. And I remember traveling as we got as um when his diabetes progressed to some other issues, and we would have to travel up to Kansas City because he had to see a specialist. So he and I would go and I would take him because physically he wouldn't be able to really drive back, because of the challenges. But that gave us that special time to be able to hang out. He came to live with me at SEMO when I was in school. He came down to live with me because I didn't know he was planning to transfer down there. But at that time, I was kind of my grades were starting to really act crazy, and so but he came down and stayed, and I won't share that experience, not on here,
He
but
was
whatever
acting
the
up, not
case.
your grades. You caused your grades to act up.
I was gonna say
No,
I like
it ain't got nothing to do with him. Before he came
No, I'm
down, they
talking
were
about it's
starting to,
you.
because I had just
I,
crossed. I had
I
just
like
crossed, and when you cross, you man. So
I like how he put that though. He said my
Yeah.
grades was acting crazy. I'm gonna use that from here on out. You know what I mean? That's on my what was that my first or second junior year. Somewhere in there, my grades just start acting crazy. I don't
they
know what
did.
happened. Had nothing to do with me. They just got a mind of their own. Like I
I
Yeah,
don't know.
know. It
teachers
was
tripping.
like, where these grades come from? Why they tripping?
Right.
But T. Patrick, man, what's on your mind, man?
You know, it's interesting. I haven't lost a friend, a close friend. I mean, I've had some eyebrow raisers with high school folks, college folks that pass away, and you just like, whoa, dang, didn't see that coming. I mean, the family had a hard time some years ago where I had a little cousin that, committed suicide, um, don't really know much of the details behind it, but I mean, it was 15 years old, right? And you say, what happens, for a 15-year-old to take his own life, um, and everybody was home. I worked. They were staying with my grandmother, and I worked around the corner at the grocery store. So I was way out in no man's land, but happened to stop by there.
Mhm.
Well, he got into some trouble. You know, went away and came back a little different, but seemed like he was getting his life together. But those last moments, and so it was like Easter Sunday. I get a call like, "Hey, you got to come out here." You know what I mean? Like, So, and his brother struggles with it a lot because
Mhm.
he found him. You know, and he wasn't nothing but maybe a year or two older.
Yeah.
So that I think that has an impact. But grief is something, man. Like you said, time is supposed to heal and this, that, and the other. But I mean, some things just hit you, and when they do, they just do. And no matter, I mean, you figure out a way to cope with it. You know, you get through the day, you move on with life. But I
Mhm.
mean, you still have those memories. You still have the impact. There's still that void. And
Yeah.
every so often, maybe it's a holiday, a birthday, something that comes around that reminds you of that void, and it's like, man, you start to feel that grief all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
question I actually have for Saint. For like somebody is like listening in and trying to grasp. Maybe they've just lost somebody. They're trying to process it. Besides the birthday, what other reminders takes you to that moment? Like I haven't lost my brother, thank God, either one of my
Mhm.
brothers. But for example, my brother's an Oakland Raider fan, so I know during football season I'm going to think. So my brother's a
Mhm.
lot. Football's on, Raiders on. I'm like, yo, man, your team's playing, but I can just imagine if you're reaching for your phone and it's not there. So for saying,
Yeah.
what are some things that can take you back there?
Man, it's so many things that so many things that we share, um like Tanglewood Park off of Chambers Road, and doing a barbecue there, and we had singing groups, and just, man, we share so much, the
You was in a
fact that we
singing group?
have. Yeah, we were in a singing group
Okay.
called We were caught my if my wife if she I know she listening, but she just found out too that we had a singing group too, and so it was a gospel singing group that we put together and
Okay.
everything, and so and I think our name was like the Chosen Ones or something like that, but we had that and we wrote a couple songs. I wrote a couple songs in accordance with also Roy too, and a brother named Chris Collier who's up in Kansas City and some of the other guys I mentioned, but and so we was so she talk about some take five, take four and a half. It wasn't
Hey,
quite take
hey,
five.
hey, listen.
I'm trying to keep the jokes down so I can listen, but I got about 10 of them on cue.
hey, they they were doo wopping, show stopping. You hear me? Back what was that? 73 was a year. You hear me?
Man, I think of Lean on Me, man, when they in the bathroom harmonizing, bro. Fair East Side.
Hey, they had just learned to chill in the Coupe de Ville. You hear me?
So
Yeah,
yeah, man, that, and also when I see his kids and
For
just
sure.
I mean they all look like him, but Kendall, when I saw him, it was like, whoa, and that's his youngest son, and so just so many different memories that remind that, and just probably too many of them to name, and so, and also life. So you mentioned that being a time for you to come out of hiding, and so I would say the same thing. That began part of the journey for me to start to. I didn't completely come out, but quite honestly, how the suddenness of James' death and just getting that call that morning, and I saw my phone ringing like you, Tony, and I'm getting ready to get in the shower and I see it ring and I said, well, I'm gonna call him as soon as I jump out the shower, and then it rings again, and so and then by that time Roy calls me, and this is early. I'm getting ready to go to work. I was working downtown in the courts, and so Roy says our brother gone. I'm like, what? I'm like, what you talking about? He said, our brother's gone. I'm like, what, man? What's going on? And I'm like, no, he just called me. And at that time, that's when little niece, Tawana, called. She was calling from his phone. She said, Uncle Isaac, Uncle James, they had to rush him down to the hospital. And so I don't even remember getting down to St. Louis. I don't remember getting there. That's for
Hmm.
real. Just traveling, from where we lived out in the county and Bridgeton down there. I don't even remember it, but all I know is when I walked in and my brother was laying there, man, and it was like it was surreal, and for me, it was like, okay, and you had those questions. You're like, man, this. No, I can think of a lot of people. I'm not trying to be cruel or anything, but I can think of a lot of people that probably, if anybody deserved to die, it was some more folks. So why my brother? And that was a hard period to where I asked those hard questions. I'm like, he got these young kids, same age as my kids. No, and just it was a hard. I had to ask some questions. I had to ask. You know, I had to ask God some really hard questions. Because I mean, when I tell you, Tony, man, when we was growing up, we was cats that was really into church and the God. We would do shut-ins our own self. We was teaching our own Bible. We was teaching our own Sunday school classes. We was doing all these things, man. And he was a brother that nobody's perfect, but he was really just striving to be a good man, for God and things of that nature. So that was a hard one for me, man. It was a hard to accept, and not only that, but it was hard for me to accept the way life was anymore. I was like, I can't, no, I can't do it. And some other things, I went through some other challenges because of where I was, because really sometime when I would go through things, I would talk to James, and that was my way of processing, but I lost that. I lost that space where I could sit and process and just be really honest and open about what I was thinking, what I was dealing with, some indiscretions, all that other stuff, man. So, and when you lose that piece, that you have to kind of regroup and regain and see things a little bit different, man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't have quite all doubt those things you went through, but with Stan, my man was a PE teacher, so it was like I got angry, like, man, why didn't you take care of yourself? Because once a friend was like, yeah, man, he was struggling with certain things and put weight, and I'm thinking, man, you was a this healthy guy teaching PE, and it was just like, dang, I just, I mean, it ate me up for a long time, and just like you saying, it was Easter Sunday when I got the phone call, and I was heading to my parents' church. And I remember getting to the church, and my dad was pretty much like, "Hey, go, just go in my pastor's study." I never came out, man. I was just, crying the whole time. It's like, so it's like you, like I don't really remember getting to the church. I remember sitting in the study, like looking up, and people looking at me, and and that's it. Just remember, just pretty much crying on my dad's shoulder, like, man, Stan, gone. So
Yeah. And our niece is on her, Alex. That's who, when you see Alex Sims, that's our niece, and so she said, yes, he was definitely a person I felt I was able to be 100% myself with. Believe
Yeah.
in me like no other, really. And when I'm telling you, man, I know a lot. We say a lot of good things about people, but I would say, man, and I would say when I'm as we're talking about James, man, this really was a really really good brother, man. Just a good man all the way around. You know,
yeah, that's how Stan was. A good guy. His daughter was young, so a part of me is like, man, he won't be able to see his daughter grow up. So
yeah,
those things eat you up.
yeah.
There's
And
nothing
he
you can
didn't
do.
complain. He didn't complain, man. There would be times where he would be in the hospital and he would have to spend periods in the hospital, but he wouldn't call people because he didn't want us to worry. And I call him. I've been, man, what's going on? And I'll be listening. I said, man, where are you? Because I can hear the sounds of the machines in the background. Oh, man, it's like, man, where are you? And so, get up there, make our way up there, to make sure to spend time, and see whatever needs needed to be taken care of, man. So, man.
Yeah, and it's just this conversation's bringing things back because I remember when I found out I was gonna be a dad at 19. Stan, the first person I told when Jazzy was born, the
Hmm.
first person that went up to the hospital was my boy Stan. So he's been there. He's with me there for. He's still with me, man. He's been there like a long time, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex said, she says, death made me turn away from God for a while, but his life is what reminded me to turn back. That's powerful. Yeah, that's it. Because death does have a way of impacting us traumatically, and making us doubt some core things. But when we think about the life of that person, man, and just the gift that we were given, because I think sometimes it's that, I mean, we take ownership of people, right? We take ownership as almost as if God does not own them any longer, and so when something is taken from us or someone is taken from us, our human nature is to get angry, because it's like, why? What do you mean? How you gonna take? We're supposed to be doing 50 together and 60 together and 70 together. How you gonna do that? But not realizing that and similar to what Alex was saying, the life of that person, the life gives us a blueprint on how we can strive, and how we can go through gracefully, and how we can, try to align ourselves with some of the values that we know that they had, so that's critical.
Yeah. I mean, and
Yeah,
a lot of times in death, yeah, everything's by design. I mean,
Mhm.
and that's predestined as a part of our lives and the experience that we're going to have. And we get that period and that time with that person, those people, for a specific purpose. And sometimes that's where that growth happens because we're so used to things one way.
Mhm.
that we then have to open up and experience things differently, not having that hearing that voice on the other end, or
Mhm.
being able to pick up that phone or stop by the house, and engage like we normally would. Now we have to find other outlets. We have to, and it's amazing how the growth happens. I mean, like
Mhm.
I say, the wound is still there, it gets better. Does it ever heal? I mean, it depends on who you talk to, I suppose.
Mhm.
But you know what I mean. When it's deep like that, it's something. My granny passed a couple years ago, and that was my girl. That was like a second mother.
Mhm.
And it's still it's different,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, she knew me like nobody else, right? So
Yeah.
I was always accused of being the favorite. I was.
You
I mean,
probably was.
what I mean?
You
I
said
was.
that. You said that a little spoiled in
Hey,
your
but
voice. You had a little
I'm
bit of spoiledness in your voice.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? She bought me a car, you know what I mean? So I picked up from the dealership, you know what I mean? Not
Yeah,
one of them
yeah,
secondhand.
you was spoiled. You was spoiled because
Right. But listen,
what my
I
great
worked on it.
grandma gave me was she would entrust me with the with back in the day you had to put the food stamps inside the book. So
Yeah.
she would entrust me with the book. Like
Okay.
you could she ain't
But
about no cars though.
well, hey,
Nah.
different time, man. That's all it was. That's all it was. But
Hey,
but
we gonna
listen,
go pick your car up
nah,
and bring it
now
back. How
listen, now
we'll have
listen.
my mechanic look at it. You like, I'm going to the dealer.
Now, now that woman could call it anything that she asked for. I did, so that's what made me one of the favorites. Now I had to work for that. You know what I mean? So the other grandkids could not, but that was huge, right? Because who am I going to talk to? So when I went through my divorce, I didn't have that outlet. You know what I mean? And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I felt like Kanye in that moment. You took
Mhm.
the, yeah. I mean, I'm close to my mama, but like I say, I grew up with my mama in the house with Granny. I spent a lot of time over there, so that it was like again losing a mother. And you know what I mean. I felt like, man, I gotta go through some of these hard moments. There, she
Mhm.
babysat all my kids, from before they went to daycare. So it was a lot. And I mean, when we go through those things, it's like, it's been what 2 years now. I want to say, but every now and then it's still like, whoa, you know what I mean? It just
Mhm.
hits you.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was a question in here. I think it's worth, definitely worth. I mean, all the comments are worth
yeah.
That's right.
throwing out there. But one says, how has death transformed how you value your life and the life of others?
Mm.
For me, it's been two. Like I said, I understand the natural order of things,
Mhm.
but Len Bias shook me up
Mm.
because he was
Yeah,
a
that
young
was.
athlete that passed away. So that was the first one that hit me. And Stan dying in our 30s hit me too. Because
Mm.
everybody else to me was older and died, or their actions, whether drugs, things like that, caused that path. But those were two that really hit me. That just
Mhm.
I understand like how fragile life is. That you could be here one day and gone the next. And I just
Yeah.
remember Laker fan, but you got this dude about to go to Boston, Lamb Bias. Everybody hyping him up, and he died of the cocaine overdose.
Yeah.
And like I say, and then with Stan, that was somebody my age I knew that passed away. So it because you know I think at a certain point, guys in gangs, guys get shot, they get this and that. So
Mhm.
you almost look at them as they had a role in it. But when it's
Mhm.
somebody that you know, man, you just to me, you just look at life differently, brings you closer to God. You question God at different times, but that's just how it hit me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the little things. Like my parents call now, my dad calls, I'm picking up the phone right away. If I'm taking a nap for real, hey, it's dad, I'm gonna pick up. So it's
Mhm.
appreciating those people and understanding that they could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, knowing that it can happen at any moment. It does make you appreciate those little things.
Mhm.
Makes you step your game up a little bit. What am I going to be remembered for? what contribution did I have, to the world, to the people around me. I'm more focused on the people around me than the world, but that's just me. You know what I mean? But that's what it puts into perspective. Life is short.
Yeah.
I had an uncle die, at 20, I think he was 22, of a
Mhm.
brain aneurysm. Um, was about to graduate college. Had gotten all the way to the senior year and died in April. Supposed to graduate in May. So I mean, it's just eh, those things like having people and I grew up with him. He hazed me growing up. So
Because you was grandma's favorite, we
I
gotta
know.
mess with her.
You had to get
Hey,
them.
listen, I don't know about grandma's favorite, but like he was our first boy, and so that was a big thing, and so like he was the mischievous one, hazed all of us growing up. So
Hmm.
and when I got to college, it was nothing. But I'm just saying, like, it does put a lot into perspective. And you say, man, you know, he never had kids, never was able to get married, never was able to see me grow up or see my siblings or my cousins grow up. Just gone, right? And that was the first time I think that happened. I was in seventh grade. And
Hmm.
I just remember standing at the hospital bed, like not really processing. So I'm just sitting there like, okay, why it looked like he's not breathing. Why is he not breathing?
Hmm.
Um, because he wasn't. He was gone. And I didn't understand that, at that time, even in seventh grade. Like, what does this mean? Like, that's this not supposed to happen like this. And so it does, and it really changed how I appreciate life, look at things and what I want to do going forward. And I try to live every day like it's my last because you just don't know.
That's true. You know, that's so
And for
true.
me, it's a quick little thing is I was driving to work Wednesday downtown, and my dad has personalized plates. And I roll up, and I see his plate hunk the horn, but I appreciate that my parents are still alive too. Like,
Hmm.
it's just, for me, it was people don't have that. So it's appreciating people that's here and reminiscing about the good times you have people that passed away.
Yeah, that's true. I think to answer that question, how is death transformed and how I value life. And so I shared with you all. So my biological brother, DeAndre, his name was DeAndre. He passed away a couple years ago, the night before Easter, and so and we were 5 years apart in age. He was younger than I am, but and so that was sudden also, and but that was a different type of impact because that was the very first time that I had to be the one that walked through the process of identifying, burying, doing all the planning and everything because my parents just couldn't, and so being the oldest and being, the one with that responsibility. And I can remember, both times when, you go to the coroner's. We went there the next morning, Easter morning. So it's supposed to be a time of celebration, but you go and identify. And I remember my mom actually called in that night because we was cooking Easter dinner. And similar to what you said, Tony, my mom told me to call my little brother and invite him to dinner. Call him and invite him. But he knew he was invited, but I sent a text instead. And so and we had those little angst because we were a little bit. I You kind of know how I am, but imagine my little brother who's just a little bit different. He um, two sides of our house, and so I didn't drink and all that other stuff. My little brother didn't mind doing all that, and so and all those little things just kind of created this separation between us. But we knew we were brothers, and so when my mom calls that night, she said, "Turn off all the pots. I need you to come over." And then when I got there, my mom's kind of straightforward. She said, "Look, they just called. Police just left. They found him. He had an overdose. He's dead." So the next morning, I had to go do the identify and go through that whole process, man. And that was just, and dealing with those funeral homes and dealing with all these parts of death. And I remember telling my mom when I saw him, I said, I told her, I said, that's me. I said, that's me. Now, I didn't have the same issues, same addiction, but I carry some of the same challenges and baggages that my brother was dealing with that led to his issues. And I was medicating my issues a different way. It wasn't through drugs and stuff, it was through my lifestyle and some other choices, and so, and I remember telling my mom, I said, that's me. And that's what I saw. I said, if I didn't make some changes, then I could see myself being in that same state, even if it wasn't a physical death. It was an emotional and mental death, living in a dead state of life. And so, so when I think about both of these and I bring both of these together, man, it was just like both of them are sudden, both of them was just taken, and so different circumstances or what have you. And really, that's that point, man, where I started going through some counseling because also that's when I couldn't keep those things that was deep down inside of me, keep them buried. I couldn't do it anymore. My dreams, everything, it's like all that stuff was coming to the surface. I'm having these dreams. I'm having these going back into childhood and all this other stuff. So, it that really impacted me to where I said I got to make some things, do some things a lot different. So
Yeah, and there's a comment here that says, "I think sometimes we aren't ready to let someone go that went unexpectedly. We try to fill their shoes or pick up where they left off."
hmm
I think that's how a lot of us look at it. I know I
hmm
did. My wife lost her mom a long time ago, and she's still dealing with it. So even when it's expected, she died of cancer. But even when you've seen somebody slowly dwindle, that you can identify, okay, this was cancer or this was but that bad diabetes or whatever. Even if it's
hmm
unexpected or not, unexpected or expected, it's
hmm
still tough. You still have that void, and I really have learned, understood, and over time become more empathetic. But
hmm
I hadn't experienced a death that deep. So yes, when
yeah,
it's unexpected, it's tough. But
Well,
even when it is expected, it's tough.
but is it ever really expected? I mean, I challenge that. I mean,
mm-hmm.
like, I think we take for granted, or kind of like Saint said earlier, we claim ownership, right?
hmm
These my people, and I don't think we don't like to talk about it. You know what I mean? We don't like to really deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, having the conversations. A lot of black families don't even want to talk about death.
hmm
You try to plan out, and now everybody fighting at the funeral over who gonna get what or whatnot, right? You know what I mean? Like, that happens. But I think part of it is the fact that we always think, or maybe even take, or maybe it's me, maybe it's people like me, but think, all right, well, this person's always gonna be here. I mean,
yeah,
I would think maybe that's why you decided to take that nap. The bottom line, all right, there's always tomorrow. There's next week. You know what I mean? Or Saint sent the text because, you know what I mean. Hey, we know how we communicate. I ain't gonna call you, but I'm not expecting you not to answer, or not ever be there. And I just
yeah,
wonder, like, do we ever really think about it there? Because I mean, I watched my granny dwindle from, for years,
Yeah,
after a stroke, and struggle with Alzheimer's to the point to where she always knew me. That's why I always said I was the favorite. Couldn't remember
hmm
nobody else. But then there was a point where, who are you? Right? She don't
yeah,
know who I am, and so watching that, but knowing that it was going to happen, I was just like, man. And it was
yeah,
just amazing because, like, I was like, she had always been the strongest woman I thought I knew. This woman in the state she was in battled and beat COVID when there was no vaccine, right?
hmm
Um, so COVID didn't take her out. She went when she was when it was her time, and it was just crazy. Like, I was like, man, we all wearing masks, and we go to view the body, and I'm like, when she passed away in my mom's living room, I'm like, do I need a mask or whatnot? Because we knew that she had COVID, and it's like, no, she got past that. That's not what took her out, and it's just
Mm,
like, but we still wasn't ready. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And my
Yeah.
mom took it hard. She took it hard being the oldest, because now she is trying to fill those shoes.
yeah.
She did the first Sunday dinner for everybody, a few on Dylan's birthday, so that was cool. Cause my mom don't ever cook, but I mean the food was good. Like we all went over there, family came in, and it was
Mhm,
just like she's. I'm like somebody's got to fill that void, and those some big shoes to fill, but are we really ready? And I just don't. I just watched us knowing that it was coming,
mhm,
preparing, and still not being ready.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
even if they
like
say,
you,
okay,
Tony.
like for example, if they say they won't make it through the night, and I like I say, I think I know for a fact both of my grandmothers kind of passed that way. That like they won't make it through the night, but but I would have to say you're probably still it's still unexpected, even though they've said all this and things don't look good. It seemed like it still would be unexpected and tough.
It's still your people. Like they said that
yeah.
about Granny many times. Oh, she ain't gonna make it through the night. She
She like,
lasted she lasted 2 months without solid food. So I was just sitting there and COVID. So I was
like
like, I
she
mean,
bad.
she
Oh,
is
yeah.
not. She would not leave until I'm like she was committed to not leaving until everybody flew in town to say goodbye,
Yeah.
and only after that did she
Yeah.
go. But
Okay.
again, we still weren't, and it was just like we knew any day, any day, any day. Turned into 2 months, and then we took for granted like she's just gonna be here. She
Yeah.
just
She
ain't
a
ready to
fighter,
go.
straight up fighter.
But then when she transitioned, my mom went upstairs and she transitioned that quickly, and she came
Mhm,
back down and she was gone. But again, you know, so that's why I asked that question. Like, that was the hardest I ever cried, even though I knew and had been knowing for years this is going to be the outcome. I still
mhm.
wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something about those
Yeah.
words, man.
I tend to, because I was thinking about a coworker. Her name is Northie Jefferson, and so who passed away, and she went in for a simple. There are no simple surgeries, but medically, they say they determine whether something should be serious or not, and
Mm,
she went in. And I remember the day before. I told her, I said, let's go. My mom worked at the church. She was a church secretary. So I knew she was there. So I said, hey, just at lunch, let's go to the church so we get prayer, before you actually go to surgery the next day. And it was supposed to be a routine surgery or whatever. And I remember she getting prayer for her um, and I remember her shedding a tear while I was praying, and so she had the surgery next day, came out good, came out and everything. But later that evening, I don't know if her blood pressure rose or whatever the case is, but it sent her into a coma and she never recovered.
mm,
But she had four or five little kids. I know four for sure, little kids, young kids, or whatever, because the oldest might have been like 14 at that time, and then the youngest was probably about five or so, but I remember being there at the hospital with her, and I would go, me and another coworker. We all three of us was really close because we were all in leadership roles at Seven South, which is off of Shodo, and so we would go there and spend some time there for lunch, and then after work and stuff like that. And I remember sitting there with her one on one, and she was in this coma, and I was talking to her, and I was telling her, I said, "North, you gotta come through this. You gotta come through." And because your kids need you, your kids, they need their mother or whatever. And while I was talking to her, man, the same tear came down her face, and so I was like, man, that's why I believe they can hear us, and I was thinking about that, but she never recovered, and that was really hard. That was a hard period for me to be able to deal with that. So because she was a young woman, she was, I know she was in her like early 30s, somewhere around there. Um, no, she was in her mid 30s. And so, so yeah, man. No, these,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, those things just to me it makes me move differently. Not like I'ma go out and kick it all night long at 4 in the morning or like go out for New Year's, but I stay my butt home on New Year's Eve, you know, because I don't want to be out there in chance and something happen. I don't come home to to the fam, you know, and
Yeah,
see my kids grow up. And I mean, it it can happen in rush hour, but I try to limit what I do to
yeah,
avoid those things. 'Cause just hearing her pass away with the small kids, man, that has to be tough.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I think that's always a worry. But we know what happened when I stayed home on New Year's. You know what I mean?
Them fools, what bullet goes up
somebody,
comes
they,
down.
they brought it. They brought it to the house. Wait.
somebody, somebody shot through the window. But you know what I mean? It's like
That's
you know,
crazy.
but I'm just thankful, for God's covering because I don't know if I ever said it, but I had a sense that that
Hmm.
was going to happen. I wouldn't have picked that room,
Hmm.
but I had a feeling that that exact thing was going to happen.
Hmm.
So, and it was unusual that my kids didn't come over because it was the weekend for all of them to come, and all of them found something else to do. The boys didn't want to come, and I don't know what Taryn did, but she ended up going with one. But but the thing is, they hadn't, if they'd have been here, I would have been right in that path because
Hmm.
that's where I would have been in that room while they, occupy the rest of the house, right? So
Yeah.
it's my escape, and so you know what I mean. It's just amazing how how things work. Just to hear you say, I would go out for New Year's, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? And we do. We think about those things
Yeah.
because I wouldn't go out to a club for that same reason, but never would have thought before having that vision that okay, this possibly could happen. You
Hmm.
Man,
know,
that's deep because you shared the pictures, but you didn't share that part. That's a spot that you would have physically been at.
yeah, I'd have been there. Yeah, right there,
Yeah.
laying in my bed. And you know what I mean? Like I said, I'd have been a few feet away from where the bullet came in, but that's just where it happened to come in. Who knows where it would have ricocheted and from there, because it did do some bouncing. So you know what I mean? It took a nice little chunk off my door. I have a door in the room, and I was like, "Did they shoot through the door?" Like, and because I didn't know to the next day when it happened. It was just the fact that something was on my heart that was saying that this could
Hmm.
happen this night. So I was very cautious about that and intentional on being in the living room from that standpoint. Because actually, I don't know. I thought it would have come from honestly where my sons sleep in their room. Like that's what I kind of had this sense. So I was really
Hmm.
relieved when they didn't come over. But it's just amazing how that happens and how you try to stay away from things, but things find you.
Yeah.
'Cause I just decided that they gonna shoot. They don't know how, and sent the bullet through my window. But I mean, I was just thankful that because I mean, I could be, we could be talking about me. You know what I mean on here.
And
That's
thank
true.
God we not, man.
I know. I know. So yeah, okay. I'm like, okay, Lord, let's slow this one down. So yep. So no, I know if you are listening in to us today, we this conversation is a little bit different, but it's really therapeutic. So we gave you a chance to kind of listen in to us and hear us process because it's me. And one of the things is we need to know how to deal with grief, right? And grief, death, hurt, pain, all these things are a part of our everyday experience. It's a part of our life cycles. And so many times, I don't think that we have the safe spaces to be able to deal with these issues. And so that's why it's even more critical for us to create these spaces within our circles. If you don't have it within your circle, if you don't feel like you can safely share what you're dealing with within the place where you reside, then reach out to us, right? No more hiding. You can reach out to us through social media. You can reach out to us at NMH for Men. at gmail.com. You can reach out to us on our website or what have you, and we'll become that safe space. We'll become that space where you can process because it really it creates a burden in our lives. It creates a weight and a heaviness. And it's not good for us as men, as anybody, but I'm talking specifically as men, for us to carry along those kind of weights and pains because it does lead to other issues such as health issues, mental health issues, emotional health. We become numb or we try to medicate in various ways or whatever. And not everybody's gonna get out there and get involved with drugs and alcohol. Some people gonna medicate through women or men, or they're gonna medicate through gambling. They're gonna medicate through reckless living, all this stuff, right? And so that's just not how we should be living our lives, as men. So we're going to invite you if you're dealing with something right now. I know he may not hear this, but my ex brother and sister in law, their son, took his life this week, unfortunately. So their family is dealing with this and dealing with challenges. And he's a 28-year-old young man, same age as my son Caleb, and so the family is dealing with this tragic loss, and Reva and Jeff. So if you're dealing with things, we gotta find those safe spaces. We gotta find those healthy spaces that help us heal from it. So tonight was a little bit different. This was therapeutic for us, and hopefully, as you're listening, it was therapeutic for you also. Fellas, let's do some final thoughts, man. Let's do some final thoughts and wrap this conversation up. T. Patrick, man, give us a final thought. What's on your mind?
I'll just echo, what you said. Oftentimes we as men don't have that safe space, or we settle we settle for the fact that no one cares, and I don't know if that's true. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about they don't, you know, communicate clearly their feelings, and I say, well, maybe you do. You just need a different audience, and I mean, we probably could apply that same concept to finding a different audience when we feel like people aren't interested in our pain or grief, because it's real. I mean, we all experience it, tragic losses or uh, some sort of trauma that happens. I mean, yeah, it's rough,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's definitely a ride. But finding that safe space to have the conversation, to get the thoughts out, to get that clarity, I think is super important. From there, it took a lot for us to share, kind of our experiences. I had no idea what I was going to talk through today. uh, when we breached the topic, I knew what the topic was, and I knew where we were going to go, but I didn't expect to pull from that. And some of the stuff I had repressed, like at first I started with my cousin,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what I could remember. But then I started thinking about other people that had impact, and you know what I mean. Like I said, I feel like I've dealt with that and made peace with it, but again, it still comes back, and it still puts things into perspective. So, what I mean, definitely, seek that's the trusted circle or trusted, people that you can talk through, and share that, because it's real. You will begin to internalize things and cause other health issues even in yourself if you don't, if you don't have that outlet. So,
Yeah, man. Thank you, man, for sharing that. You know, T. Bird.
I would say first off, my heart goes out to people that's on here that lost like loved ones. That's always tough. So my heart's with you. My real strong feelings with no more hiding, our platform, what we do, like I said, it stems from Stan passing away. And I know I made the ugly faces, bite my lip and everything, so I wouldn't cry in public. And this was my guy. Fast forward, I'm married. I remember thinking about Stan tears about to form. I remember turning over in bed and pulling the covers over my head. Why? So manhood is so, we make it so complex. And all my wife would have said was, "Are you okay?" And I could just say, "Hey man, I'm thinking about staying. I'm sad." But again, why did I cover up? Because we as men do this hiding and controlling our emotions. So it's okay to, it's okay to be a comprehensive man where you're strong, the provider, the protector, and you're sensitive and a nurturer. So I think it's deep, but all the emotions. I mean, this topic is made me think about Stan, think about my own securities, insecurities, me questioning what manhood is, masculinity, and that's just my thought. So for any men out there, it's okay to cry. Our sons fall down, let them cry. He's not a punk. He's not a sissy. He's a young male who has emotions, and we can't always cut those off because you get to a point where you don't know how to express yourself unless it's anger or detachment or drinking or drugs. So my final thought is for us men to find somebody you can talk to and express yourself, especially with other men, because you may feel a certain way with women, but with your boys it's okay to cry on your guy's shoulder because it shows a strength versus a weakness. And I think we've been socialized to believe that that is weakness, but that is strength that we all have. So that's my final thought.
That's it. I'm for those who are joining us, and you may be dealing with your own issues, grief, things like that. Once again, we're going to offer to you the support that manhood moments and no more hiding does. And if you could see the sign behind me, it says revealing authentic manhood. Right, that's what manhood moments is about. It's about being authentically and real about who we are and the things that we deal with. And so we do this not for the ratings. We don't do it for the numbers of people thinking that having people, a lot of people following us. We do it for that one. We do it for that one person that we may have the opportunity to reach. That one person we may have the opportunity to encourage. That one person we may have the opportunity to speak life into, or even speak them away from the possibility of taking their life or their family's life or whatever. We do it for the one person we know that there is still hope. That one man, that there is still hope for you today. And so wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with today, there is hope. If you're dealing with bereavement, if you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, a parent, a brother, a friend, if you're dealing with the loss even sometime of strangers, we don't know why it impacts us so much, but death has a funny way. We want to let you know that we're here for you and that we'll support you. Father, we thank and praise you. We glorify you for everything that you're doing and everything that you've done. We thank you for the lives of those who we remember today and remember tonight, God, and the laughter, the tears, the joys, the successes, even the failures. We thank you that we had the opportunity to spend time with them, God. But Lord God, we are even more thankful for the life that we have and the opportunity we have to have greater friendships, newer friendships. We ask that you would touch hearts today. Remember Jeff and Reva, Lord. Remember Victoria and Jason. And Lord, remember the Jeff's daughter, Lord Jesus. And anybody else, the rest of the family that's connected right now, and anyone else that's going through bereavement right now. We ask that you would continue to strengthen like only you can strengthen today. Heal like only you can heal today. Your word declares that you were wounded for our transgressions, you were bruised for our iniquities, and chastisement of our peace was put upon you, and by your stripes we're healed. And that healing is more than physical. So we ask that you would do what only you can do today. This we ask in your most holy name. In Jesus' name, amen. So we'll see you next month, first Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, right here. Right. Remember, my manhood, my moment. Be blessed.